And actually show Jordan some love. James Jones is here, and his answer may surprise you. Will Tua be enough to get the Dolphins into the playoffs in 2020? And for that matter, can the Bucs and the boys make the leap? Plus, we are handing out draft grades for the NFC East. All of it coming up next on NFL Total Access. And with that, we welcome you to what I believe is a Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday, edition of NFL Total Access from a guest room somewhere in Los Angeles. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Wherever you are watching this show, hopefully you are healthy and you are safe. Thank you for spending an hour of football with us. Brian Billick, Steve Smith Sr., Tom Pelissero, Daniel Jeremiah, and Bucky Brooks join me shortly. On a day in which the deal becomes official in New Orleans, Jameis Winston is a Saint. We have news about the quarterback for his now former team. That is Tom Brady. You heard the story last week, didn't you, that Brady walked into some random home in Tampa because he thought it was the home of his new offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. He immediately realized he was in the wrong house, left, and then found Byron Leftwich's house. Tom Pelissero is with me now to try to make sense of that one, Tom, because the league had to look into it because you're not supposed to, during the quarantine of the building shutdown, actually be having these kinds of in-person team meetings. What did they decide?
Well, that's right, Andrew. Other NFL teams raised this as an issue to the league office and wanted to see the Buccaneers punished after Tom Brady visited Byron Leftwich's house after that brief detour. During the current virtual period of the offseason, you cannot have any in-person interaction. And even if this were a normal offseason, during the dead period, you cannot have coaches and players getting together to talk football. The NFL did conduct an inquiry, and according to league spokesman Brian McCarthy, they found no violation. It was a brief personal visit, McCarthy said. Tom picked up his playbook. That explanation may not fly with other teams, but as far as the league is concerned, Andrew, no violation, no discipline.
All right, they were just exchanging pleasantries and picking up a playbook. Thank you, Tom. Brady now is there in Tampa, although he can't be in the same room with Ronald Jones, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and, that Rob Gronkowski guy. They also added Tristan Wirfs and Keyshawn Vaughn, the running back out of Vanderbilt there on day 2 of the draft. I'm fairly certain Brian Billick and Steve Smith are in the correct homes. They are in their homes. They're with me live now on Total Access. Coach, start with you. What's the biggest challenge for Brady and the Bucs this year?
Well, I think expectations. I mean, Tom Brady, obviously, his entire career, it's been Super Bowl or bust. If it's not a Super Bowl, it's not a successful year. With all, with Tom Brady, with Gronk, good solid draft with the assets they have on the offensive side. The expectations of not only the city of Tampa, but the entire country is, it's off the roof. It's akin to last year. Who was the darling? It was the Cleveland Browns, and they were going to run through. They're going to be a dominant team. So with Tampa Bay being on the edge of it, with what they've got now, clearly it's with those expectations, and it's not going to be enough during the course of the regular season. Even if they do well, it's going to be, okay, well, that's fine. Let's see what they do in the playoffs. So dealing with that, not tampering them down, but dealing with that is something that obviously Brady's going to have to lead them through.
I agree with you, Coach. Having big expectations is going to be there. But we're talking about Tom Brady. He comes with those expectations that everyone has been accustomed to seeing. And that's the reason why you have a guy like Gronk coming out of retirement. Hell, if I was a little bit younger, I'd come out of retirement just because you want to play with some of the greatest players out there. And Tampa Bay has risen their level of expectations. The fans, they're selling out. Chris Godwin had to really kind of decide if he was going to give up his number. You don't want to be the guy that doesn't give Tom Brady his number. So the expectations is a great subject, and it will be something that we'll be watching, just like you said, with the Cleveland Browns all year.
Like watching The Last Dance, you didn't want to be on the Bulls team that couldn't win Jordan a championship. The Buccaneers kind of have that same thing. Somewhat different, though. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Coach. Both back a little bit later on NFL Total Access. Tom Brady is not the only new quarterback in the state of Florida. In Miami, Tua Tagovailoa, that man right there with mom and dad and family last Thursday, is the new guy in Miami. Brian Flores was on with our friend Mike Tirico recently and said, you know, that workout on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, that actually did play a factor.
It just kind of reinforced and confirmed some of the things that our doctors had mentioned to us. So, it was important. It was good to see it. He looked good in the tape, but obviously, that's 9 minutes. That's very different from having a 2.5 hour practice or playing in a game. So, but I thought he looks good for where he was and where he was when he initially got the injury and where he was at that point.
So that thing actually did factor, and once Tua went 5, that left Justin Herbert there for the Chargers at number 6. Interesting comments this morning from LA GM Tom Telesco on with Pat McAfee when McAfee laid out a hypothetical scenario.
If Justin Herbert goes 5 to Miami, is Tua a Los Angeles Charger?
Yeah, we felt great about both guys. Well, actually, we felt great about all 3 quarterbacks that went in the top 6. So all 3 are going to be really good players in this league, and that it's a comforting factor to know. I mean, hopefully we don't pick 6 very often.
True.
If we do, I won't be making very many picks here. So if you're going to pick this high, and there's a potential down the road franchise quarterback there that you like, you have to take them. And we were lucky to have some quarterbacks there in this draft that were really good players.
Interesting there from Tom Telesco. Daniel Jeremiah on his final day before a quarantine vacation joins us live now on Total Access. You had been calling the Jordan Love one. He went after Herbert there in the first round for a while on your podcast. Then when you throw in Jalen Hurts, DJ, try to compare those two. Which was the more surprising quarterback pick?
Well, I think when you look at Aaron Rodgers' age, it made sense. I mean, at least you could have the theory in place, which we talked about a bunch in the run-up to the draft, that could happen with Jordan Love. I don't think anybody saw the Eagles taking Jalen Hurts, and I think that was the more surprising move. I do want to point out, though, I don't know if this has been explained as much through this process, he was worthy of being picked in the second round. He was my 50th overall player. He was a 53rd pick. Jalen Hurts was my 5th quarterback. So the talent is there. I just think with Carson Wentz, in the prime of his career, having just signed that contract, it kind of took everybody for a loop there. When you look, say, second round, man, that's early to draft a backup quarterback. But I thought the Eagles have done a nice job explaining why they did what they did, and they believe in investing heavily in the most important position. So they had a plan, they executed it, and Jalen Hurts will get on the field a little bit. I don't anticipate we'll see a lot of him over the next few years, but they have a nice insurance policy in place.
Yeah, an insurance policy on a guy that already has a $128 million contract in hand and that pays nearly $40 million at least cash this year, as it is front-loaded. All these contracts are. Also, DJ, by the way, on the Move the Sticks podcast, you talk about plug-and-play guys that you take right off the draft board and put on the field. Which team had the most of those?
Well, I love my old team, the Baltimore Ravens, and what they're able to accomplish, and especially at the linebacker position. They got a running back in the second round, J.K. Dobbins, that's going to be a great player, and it's going to fit right in. But you look at Patrick Queen in the first round, and then you come back with Malik Harrison in the third round. I think both those guys are plug-and-play linebackers that really complement each other very well. Patrick Queen with the range to make plays sideline to sideline, that speed. Malik Harrison can come downhill, a little bit bigger guy, can bang, can do some of the dirty work. I remember when I was with the Baltimore Ravens and Coach Billick was there, we had Bart Scott who could do all the take-on, and then Ray Lewis would play over the top. I think they're trying to find that same formula with this pair of linebackers they found in this year's draft. I love what the Ravens did.
All right, because you mentioned Bart Scott, DJ, I can't wait for your steal of the draft. Who is it?
Put it on a tee. Steal of the draft. I'm going to go to the second round. I'm going to go to the Carolina Panthers and Jeremy Chin. Because the reason I say he's a steal they thought about Isaiah Simmons in the first round, and they decided to go Derek Brown. Then they end up getting Jeremy Chin. You see it with the 64th pick, which I thought was tremendous value in and of itself. But they also get a player with a similar skill set to Isaiah Simmons. So I thought that a little bit of a gamble there going with Derek Brown over Simmons. But, man, they got kind of just a little lesser version of Simmons at the 64th pick. So I love that combination of picks there for the Carolina Panthers.
Gotta love it. DJ's back a little bit later. Thank you, sir, with Bucky Brooks for some NFC East draft grade. You see it every year. After a team drafts for 3 days, it's time to cut some veterans. You saw it with DJ.